Belief in Allah, the Great, the Powerful, is the first and the most important of the pillars of faith eemaan. It is of paramount importance and provides the basis for the other pillars of faith, such as belief in the angels, in the holy books, in the messengers, in the day of judgment, and in the divine decree Al-Qadar, whether good or bad. All of them, being derivatives of the belief in Allah, rest on this pillar and are built upon it. The essence of faith in Allah, the Almighty and the Sublime, is having the heart full of belief in the following. Only Allah is the one true God alone. Only Allah alone is worthy of worship. Only Allah alone possesses divine names and attributes. These three basic convictions of the heart, which together constitute the essence of the oneness of God, or Tawheed, are nothing less than the foundation upon which the whole religion rests. Islam is a purely absolutely monotheistic religion, as it is based on the conviction that Allah governs all things and performs all His acts alone, without any partners or assistants, that He alone has divine essence and possesses divine names and attributes, and has no equals, and that He alone is worthy of praise and worship, and has no equals. As it is clear from the above, the oneness of God, Tawheed, which the prophets and the messengers of Allah came with, is composed of three constituents. 1. The oneness of Allah's lordship, Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, is being convinced in heart that Almighty Allah alone is the Lord, the Sovereign, the Creator, the Provider of all things. He is the giver of life and death, the one who brings benefit and causes harm, the only one who answers prayers in difficult times, the one who is in control of all things, in whose hand is all goodness, the one who is able to do whatever He wills, and no one shares this power with Him. 2. The oneness of divinity, Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah, is being convinced in heart that Allah is the one true God alone, so all acts of worship should be devoted to Allah alone. 3. The oneness of the divine names and attributes, Tawheed al-Osma Washington as-Sifat, is being convinced in heart of all the divine names and attributes of Almighty Allah, which He has affirmed for Himself in the Quran, or which His Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, has affirmed for him the authentic Sunnah, as well as denying that Allah has any faults or deficiencies, and that He bears any resemblance to His creation. It means accepting the fact that Allah has knowledge of all things and is able to do whatever He wills, that He is the ever-living and the sustainer of all existence, that neither slumber nor sleep overtakes Him. Everything occurs according to His will, and there is no limit to His wisdom. He is the all-hearing, the all-seeing, the compassionate, the most merciful. He established Himself on the throne, and is the ruler of His kingdom. He is the sovereign, the most holy, the most pure, the guardian, the protector, the almighty, the powerful, the sublime. Truly, Allah is pure and exalted high above whatever partners they associate with Him, and these are only a few of His beautiful names and sublime attributes. Each of the three constituents of Tawheed is confirmed by ample evidence from the Quran and the Sunnah. The Quran is totally devoted to the oneness of Allah and narrates about its demands and the reward promised for complying with them, and also about the idolatry, its followers, and the recompense for their deeds. These three constituents of the oneness of Allah were derived from the texts of the Quran and the Sunnah by the scholars of Islam. A careful comprehensive analysis of the Sharia texts has made it possible to conceive religious truth, the point of which is that the oneness of Allah, required from the servants, is the belief in that Allah is the one true God alone, the only one worthy of worship, and the only one who possesses divine names and attributes. Anyone who does not subscribe to those beliefs in their totality is not a believer. Oneness of Lordship, Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, the oneness of Allah's Lordship, is the belief in heart that Allah alone performs divine acts. These include creation, provision, control, showing mercy, ruling, giving shape to creation, gifting and depriving, bringing benefits and causing harm, resurrection, destruction, sovereignty, predestination, and many other actions that no one else is capable of but Allah. The Arabic word rububiyyah is derived from the verb rabba, which means to educate. Another of its derivatives is the noun Rob, which stands for Lord, Sovereign. Lordship is an attribute of Allah, the Sublime, the Almighty. In view of this, the word Rububiyah is formed from the noun Rob, which in the Arabic language has a variety of meanings, including a sovereign, a lord everyone obeys to, a reformer who improves the state of things, anyone who possesses intellect, who reflects on the parts of the world and the sky, on the earth, which is established in the universe, on the stars, the planets, the sun and the moon, on the mountains, the trees, the seas and the rivers on the face of the earth, on the night and the day that shroud them, on the absolute and all-embracing order, which has been established in the world, and which all existence is subject to, will surely understand that the universe has an almighty and all-powerful maker who created it and is ruling it. And the more profoundly a man of sense thinks about all these deeds, the more occupied his mind is with these amazing creations, the clearer he understands that all this was created for the truth and with the truth, and that the universe presents scrolls with a collection of signs and books which provide arguments and testimonies confirming the truth of everything that Almighty Allah stated about Himself and justifying His oneness. We don't know of any cases of denial of this kind of monotheism on part of representatives of other religious communities. Neither do we know of any declarations stating that the world was originated by two creators who were similar to each other in their attributes and capable of performing the same actions, since it is impossible by definition, and we will be returning to this point later on. In a similar way, there is no assertion that any person has stated that someone has taken part in the process of creating the world alongside Allah, or that there is another one who possesses the same attributes as Allah. The essence of polytheists' declarations reflects their confidence that any of Allah's associates, be it an angel, a prophet, a planet or any idol, is subject to Allah. One of the hadiths recorded in Sahih Muslim on the authority of Ibn Abbas, Allah be pleased with him, reports that when pronouncing the words of Talbiyah, the idolaters from among the Arabs used to say, "Here I am in your presence. You have no partner except the partner who is your own. You are his owner as well as owner of what he owns." As for Allah's messenger, he began uttering the words that evidence pure monotheism. "Here I am at your service, O Allah. Here I am. Here I am at your service. You have no partner. Here I am. Yours alone is all praise and all bounty, and yours alone is the sovereignty. You have no partner." Almighty Allah told us that idolaters from among the Arabs, whom Allah's messenger had been sent to, generally acknowledged Allah as the one creator, which is mentioned in many of Quran's ayahs. Thus, for example, Allah the Almighty said, "And if you ask them, who created the heavens and the earth, they will certainly say, Allah. Say, all the praises and thanks be to Allah, but most of them do not know." Surah Al-Qadar, Ayah 25. Almighty Allah also said, "And if you were to ask them, who has created the heavens and the earth and subjected the sun and the moon, they will surely reply, Allah. How then are they deviating?" Surah Al-Qadar, Ayah 61. Almighty Allah also said, "And if you were to ask them, who sends down water from the sky and gives life therewith to the earth after its death, they will surely reply, Allah. Say, all the praises and thanks be to Allah. Nay, most of them have no sense." Surah Al-Qadar, Ayah 63. Almighty Allah also said, "Say, who provides for you from the sky and the earth, or who owns hearing and sight, and who brings out the living from the dead and brings out the dead from the living, and who disposes the affairs, they will say, Allah." Surah Inas, Ayah 31. Almighty Allah also said, "Say, whose is the earth and whosoever is therein? If you know, they will say, it is Allah's. Say, will you not then remember? Say, who is the Lord of the 7 heavens and the Lord of the great throne? They will say, Allah. Say, will you not then fear Allah? Say, in whose hand is the sovereignty of everything, and He protects, while against whom there is no protector, if you know. They will say, all that belongs to Allah. Say, How then are you deceived and turn away from the truth? Surah Al-Mu'min, ayahs 84 to 89. Yet some people think that certain things were not created by Allah. Thus, for instance, dualists from among fire worshippers believe that darkness was not created by Allah. The Qadarists think that Allah is not the creator of animal deeds, and some polytheists from among the Arabs and other nations believed that their deities brought them benefits or caused them damage on their own, and not by Allah's will. Given the existence of polytheism of this kind, its inconsistency was revealed in the Quran. Almighty Allah said, "No son did Allah beget, nor is there any other God along with him. If there had been many gods, then each God would have taken away what he had created, and some would have tried to overcome others." Surah Al-Mu'min, ayah 91. The words of the Almighty in this case are nothing more than an example of a speculative argument, the essence of which lies in denying the possibility of coexistence of two creators, and a clear explanation of the fact that the true God must necessarily be the creator, capable of taking actions and holding great power. And even if there was another God existing along with Allah that would possess the same powers, then he would be the ruler of a single creation, and would also be distinguished by the capacity of taking action and by the strength. However, shared ownership would not do for the other God, so he would try to subdue his partner and assume exclusive control over everything. And if he could, he would do it. Otherwise he would separate himself, carrying away his own creation. Accordingly, provided that there were two creators, one of the following two consequences would be inevitable. Each God would carry away his own creation, or one of the gods would rise above the other one. However, all that we are witnessing is contrary to the very idea of the possibility of coexistence of various creators, as orderliness and harmonious relationship between all the components of the creation, the sky and the earth, what is above and what is below, suggest that the whole world is controlled by one God alone, the Sublime, the Almighty. How does the deviation from the oneness of Lordship manifest itself? Although humanity generally has a natural and subconscious disposition to believe in the divine unity, which is in the nature fitra of a human soul, and which is also confirmed by ample evidence, some people still drift away from the truth concerning the oneness of Allah. Distorted beliefs of people in reference to the recognition of Allah's Lordship can be classified and briefly described in the following manner. The first deviation: absolute disbelief in Allah's Lordship and the outright denial of His existence. Such beliefs are commonly found among atheists, who tend to think that all existing things are a mere manifestation of nature, or just a mere coincidence of time, or appeared on its own, spontaneously, etc. And they say, there is nothing but our life of this world. We die and we live, and nothing destroys us except time. Surah Al-Qadar, ayah 24. The second deviation: denying some of the attributes of the pure Lord, or part of the manifestations of His Lordship. This is reflected, for instance, in the views of some people who disbelieve in Allah's power to cause death or resurrect humans after their death, or who deny Allah's ability to bring benefits or do harm, as well as other things. The third deviation: giving any of Allah's exclusive attributes to someone or something. If a person regards someone or something as having a share with Allah, the Sublime, the Almighty, in His dominion of the universe from any aspect, such as creation or destruction, resurrection or extinguishing life, showing mercy, warding harm, as well as any other feature of Lordship, it means that he associates others with Almighty Allah. Oneness of the divine names and attributes. Tawheed al-Osma Washington as-Sifat, believing in the divine names and attributes, has an enormous impact on the heart of a Muslim, as well as on his worship of the Lord. Faith in Allah allows a servant to find the meaning of his heart-related devotion to his Lord. This faith makes him trust Almighty Allah, rely on Him alone, and be mindful of his physical and mental actions, as well as gain control over his thoughts, in order to think only of what pleases Allah. He begins to love what Allah loves. He hears and sees strictly for His sake alone. And still, He's full of hope for Allah's mercy and has a fair thought concerning Him. The names of Allah, the Almighty, help His servant love his Lord wholeheartedly. And this devotion is the basis of a Muslim's happiness in this world and in the hereafter. The key to all success, this love excites him to worship the Lord in a most wonderful manner. It is relevant to highlight in this regard that the degree of such heartfelt love for Almighty Allah determines how easy or tedious the physical acts of worship become for a believer. Performing an act of worship in that perfect way that would please Allah depends on the heartfelt love one has for Allah. And this love is contingent on knowing Allah by His beautiful names and attributes. This is why His messengers worshipped Allah in the best manner, as they had the best knowledge of Him. Consequently, their love of the Almighty surpassed that of any other. The oneness of the divine names and attributes, Tawheed al-Ozma Washington as-Sifat, is being convinced in the heart of all the divine names and attributes of Almighty Allah, which He has affirmed for Himself, and which His messenger, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, has affirmed for Him, as well as denying all names and attributes which Allah has declared as unbefitting of Him, and which His messenger, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, has declared as unbefitting of Him, and also acknowledging their true meaning and understanding their impact and implications on His creations. What forms basis of acknowledging the oneness of Allah with regard to His names and attributes? First, the fact that Allah has the most excellent names, that is to say, names that are more beautiful than anything can be, for Almighty Allah said, "And the most beautiful names belong to Allah." Surah Al-Araf, Ayah 180. Besides, to Him belong the highest and the most perfect attributes, free from any deficiency whatsoever. Almighty Allah said, "For Allah is the highest description." Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 60. It is referred to the supreme, the most perfect and the finest attributes. Second, the fact that knowledge about Allah's names and attributes came from above, the Quran and the Sunnah being the source of our knowledge about them. And this means that we should refer to these records exclusively, neither taking anything away from them or adding anything to what they reveal. Third, both confirmation and denial are used when describing Allah. What is more, confirmation should in no way resemble likening, nor should denial resemble deprivation, which was highlighted by Allah, who said, "There is nothing like Him, and He is the All-Hearer, the All-Seer." Surah Ash-Shura, Ayah 11. Fourth, we know some of Allah's names and attributes, but only Allah knows what exactly they mean and imply. The Quranic proof in this regard is these lines, "But they will never compass anything of His knowledge." Surah Taha, Ayah 110. The two Sahih quote a hadith narrated by Abu Hurairah, Allah be pleased with him, who reported that Allah's messenger, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said, "Allah has 99 names, 100 less one. Whoever memorizes them all will enter paradise." In this context, memorizing implies knowing the names by heart and worshipping Allah in accordance to their meaning. However, the number of names is not limited to the 99, because He also has such names which are not mentioned in the Quran or in the Sunnah. Imam Ahmad, Ibn Hibban, and other muhaddiths report a hadith recorded from Abdullah bin Mas'ud, Allah be pleased with him. This hadith narrates that Allah's messenger, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said, "O Allah, I ask you by every name belonging to you, which you have named yourself or you taught to someone from your creation, or revealed in your book, or have preserved in the knowledge of the unseen with you thereby." Allah, the Sublime, the Great, has a lot of names which include both names and attributes. In this respect, the names highlight the essence of the Almighty, whereas the attributes indicate the features of His perfection. Here are some of the names and attributes of Allah. Allah's names include the following: Allah, Lord, the Gracious, the Merciful. In Surah Al-Qadar, Almighty Allah says, "All the praises and thanks be to Allah, the Lord of the universe, the most gracious, the most merciful." Surah Al-Qadar, Ayahs 23. Allah is the one who is considered God and who is praised. Lord is the Creator, the Sustainer, the Sovereign who directs all affairs, the one who has nurtured all His creations with mercy, the Gracious, the Merciful. Both names refer to the notion of grace. However, while the name gracious is indicative of a quality present in Allah, the name merciful shows connection between His grace and everything that it encompasses. Allah's grace can be divided into two parts: general, which He bestows upon all mankind, and special, which He manifests towards the believers. In regard to the general grace, Almighty Allah stated the following: "Verily, Allah is, for mankind, full of kindness, most merciful." Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 65. As for the special grace, Almighty Allah put it this way: "And He is ever most merciful to the believers." Surah Al-Asb, Ayah 43. The One, the Everlasting in Surah Al-Ikhlas, which is equivalent in its significance to a third of the Quran, Almighty Allah says, "Say, He is Allah, the One, Allah, the Self-Sufficient One." Surah Al-Ikhlas, Ayahs 12. In this context, the One means the unique in regard to perfection, and there is none, and nothing comparable to Him, and no one shares with Him the attributes of His perfection. The Everlasting means perfect in His attributes, the One all creatures turn to with their needs, the living, the existing, the Most High, the Most Great. All these names are mentioned by the Almighty in the throne verse Ayat al-Kursi, which is one of the greatest of His ayahs. Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, used to say that for those who recited this ayah before going to bed, there would be a guardian appointed over them by Allah, and Satan would not be able to approach them till morning. Almighty Allah said, "Allah, none has the right to be worshipped, but He, the ever-living, the One who sustains all that exists. Neither slumber nor sleep overtakes Him. To Him belongs whatever is in the heavens, and whatever is on the earth. Who is He that can intercede with Him except with His permission? He knows what happens to them in this world, and what will happen to them in the hereafter, and they will never compass anything of His knowledge, except that which He wills. His cur's throne extends over the heavens and the earth, and He feels no fatigue in guarding and preserving them. And He is the Most High, the Most Great." Surah Al-Baqarah, Ayah 255, Ayat al-Kursi. The living. This means that His life is eternal and perfect in every way, and no slumber can seize Him, nor sleep, neither can death take control of Him. Almighty Allah said, "And put your trust in the ever-living One, who dies not." Surah Al-Furqan, Ayah 58. The existing. It means that He exists per se, while others exist thanks to Him only, as He is self-sufficient and needs nothing at all. The Most High. What is meant here is the absolute height, for example, the height of power, the height of submission, and the height of existence. As for the height of power, it refers to the qualities of perfection and the qualities of majesty which characterize Allah. Relating to the height of submission, it means that sovereignty over the entire universe belongs to Him, and that He has control over all creations. As for the height of existence, it implies that He has established Himself over the throne high above all His creations. Almighty Allah said, "Glorify the name of your Lord, the Most High." Surah Al-Al, Ayah 1. Almighty Allah also said, "And when Allah said, O Jesus, I will take you and raise you to myself." Surah Al-Iman, Ayah 55. Almighty Allah also said, "Do you feel secure that He, who is over the heaven, will not cause the earth to sink with you, and then it should quake? Or do you feel secure that He, who is over the heaven, will not send against you a violent whirlwind? Then you shall know how has been my warning." Surah Al-Mulk, Ayah 16-17. In this context, heaven implies height, which is to say everything that is above the created skies, the Most Great. This name highlights the possession of everything that pertains to majesty, the first, the last, the manifest, the hidden, the all-knower. Almighty Allah said, "He is the first and the last, the Most High and the Most Near, and He is the all-knower of everything." Surah Al-Had, Ayah 3. Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, expressed his interpretation of these four names saying, "O Allah, you are the first, so there is nothing before you, and you are the last, so there is nothing after you. You are the most victorious and the highest, so there is nothing above you, and you are the most inward. So there is nothing closer than you. This hadith is quoted by Muslim, the All-Knower. It refers to the one whose knowledge is all-embracing. Almighty Allah said, "And with him are the keys of all that is hidden. None knows them but he. And he knows whatever there is in the land, and in the sea not a leaf falls, but he knows it. There is not a grain in the darkness of the earth nor anything fresh or dry, but is written in a clear record." Surah Al-An'am, Ayah 59. The All-Hearer, the All-Seer, Almighty Allah said, "And he is the All-Hearer, the All-Seer." Surah Ash-Shura, Ayah 11. He is the All-Hearer, and it means that hearing is an attribute of his. He is the All-Seer, and it means that sight is an attribute of his. Therefore he hears everything and he sees everything, and from him nothing can be concealed. The All-Wise, the All-Aware, Almighty Allah said, "And he is the All-Wise, the All-Aware." Surah Sabah, Ayah 1. The All-Wise. It means that he takes control over his creation, both in this world and in the hereafter, by means of the laws established by him and religious laws, and he judges as he wills, and no one can reverse his decisions, and he has wisdom in virtue of which all his commands and creations are distinguished by perfect accuracy and beauty. The All-Aware. It means having knowledge of the manifest and the hidden. Allah's attributes include the following. The face, Almighty Allah said, "And the face of your Lord, full of majesty and honor, will remain forever." Surah Al-A'raf, Ayah 27. The hands, Almighty Allah said, "Both his hands are widely outstretched." Surah Al-Midah, Ayah 64. The eyes, Almighty Allah said, "So wait patiently for the decision of your Lord, for verily, you are under our eyes." Surah At-Tur, Ayah 48. Almighty Allah also said, "In order that you may be brought up under my eye." Surah Taha, Ayah 39. In this verse two eyes are meant. That is why Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said, "Verily, your Lord is not one-eyed." The three attributes mentioned above relate to the essence of Allah. Rising over the throne, Almighty Allah said, "The Most Gracious rose over the throne." Surah Taha, Ayah 5. Almighty Allah also said, "And then he rose over the throne." Surah Al-Araf, Ayah 54. The statement referred to above is related to the height, the highest point, remaining above everything else, the ascension, and the fundamental strength. A statement of this kind pertains to the features of action. Proximity, Almighty Allah said, "He it is who created the heavens and the earth in 6 days, and then rose over the throne. He knows what goes into the earth, and what comes forth from it, and what descends from the heaven, and what ascends thereto. And he is with you wheresoever you may be. And Allah is the all-seer of what you do." Surah Al-Had, Ayah 4. Almighty Allah also said, "Have you not seen that Allah knows whatsoever is in the heavens, and whatsoever is on the earth? There is no secret of 3, but he is their 4th, nor of 5, but he is their 6th, nor of less than that or more, but he is with them wheresoever they may be. And afterwards on the day of resurrection, he will inform them of what they did. Verily, Allah is the all-knower of everything." Surah Al-Mudalah, Ayah 7. Almighty Allah also said, Muhammad said to his companion, "Be not sad. Surely Allah is with us." Surah At-Tawbah, Ayah 40. Almighty Allah also said, "Truly, Allah is with those who fear him, and those who are good doers." Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 128. This proximity can be of two types. Allah's proximity to all people, which is evidenced by the ayahs Al-Had and Al-Mudalah quoted above. This closeness has relation to the Almighty's all-encompassing knowledge of all beings created by him. The second type of proximity is Allah's proximity to a part of beings created by him, which is indicated in the ayahs At-Tawbah and An-Nahl quoted above. This applies to those who are close to him, since, in accordance with the meaning of the ayahs, he always assists, supports and protects them. Coming, arrival, Almighty Allah said, "Do they then wait for anything other than that Allah should come to them in the shadows of the clouds and the angels?" Surah Al-Baqarah, Ayah 210. Almighty Allah also said, "And your Lord comes with the angels in Surah Al-Fajr, Ayah 22. This refers to Almighty Allah's arrival on the resurrection day for a final decision concerning His servants. These attributes are the features of action. Descent to the lowest heaven. The two Sahihs record a hadith, transmitted on the authority of Abu Hurairah, Allah be pleased with him, who narrated that the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said, "Our Lord, glorified and exalted, descends to the lowest heaven every night when the last third of the night is left, and He says, Who will call upon me, that I may answer him? Who will ask of me, that I may give him? Who will ask me for forgiveness, that I may forgive him?" Thus, this hadith confirms that every night Almighty Allah, praise be to Him, comes down to the lowest heaven, which is related to the features of action. The speech Almighty Allah said, "And when Moses came at the time and place appointed by us, and his Lord spoke to him," Surah Al-Araf, Ayah 143. Almighty Allah also said, "And when Allah will say, O S Jesus, son of Maryam Mary," Surah Al-Midah, Ayah 116. Almighty Allah also said, "And if any one of the polytheists seeks your protection, then grant him protection, so that he may hear the word of Allah." Surah At-Tawbah, Ayah 6. The speech or words of Allah pertain to His attributes. Almighty Allah speaks whenever He wills, and in whatever manner He wills. His voice is heard, and Allah's words are, on the one hand, an attribute of His essence, and on the other hand, a feature of His action. The Quran contains uncreated words revealed by Allah. Almighty Allah said, "And this is a blessed book, which we have sent down, so follow it." Surah Al-An'am, Ayah 155. As already mentioned, Allah's words are one of His attributes, and His attributes are not created. Love Almighty Allah said, "Truly, Allah loves the good doers." Surah Al-Baqarah, Ayah 195. Almighty Allah also said, "Surely Allah loves the pious." Surah At-Tawbah, Ayah 4. Pleasure Almighty Allah said, "Allah is pleased with them and they with Him." Surah Al-Midah, Ayah 119. Anger Almighty Allah said, "And the anger of Allah is upon them." Surah Al-Fath, Ayah 6. We know for sure that these names and attributes belong to Allah, because He has affirmed them for Himself, and His Messenger, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, has affirmed them for Him. There is no departure from the Quran or the Sunnah, as it is unacceptable to depart from their clear meaning, nor is it acceptable to try to find out what lies behind it or to compare Allah's attributes with the attributes proper of humans. Almighty Allah said, "There is nothing like Him." Surah Ash-Shura, Ayah 11. Almighty Allah also said, "Do you know of any who is similar to Him?" Surah Maryam, Ayah 65. Almighty Allah also said, "And there is none co-equal or comparable unto Him." Surah Al-Ikhlas, Ayah 4. How we should understand rightly the oneness of the divine names and attributes. The proper understanding of the names and attributes of Almighty Allah rests on a firm belief and absolute certitude in every name and attribute that Allah has ascribed to Himself, and that has been ascribed to Him by His Messenger, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, neither distorting tarif, negating tattle, or subjecting such terms to descriptive designation, tawqif, or comparing them to the attributes of His creations, tamthil. Distortion tarif implies altering the true essence of Allah's names and attributes, and can be done in two ways. 1. Distortion of a name by adding extra letters to a word, deleting one or more letters from a word, or changing vowel signs harakats on it. An instance of this can be traced in the following verse, in which some representatives of misguided groups changed the word istor in the discourse of the Almighty. The Most Gracious rose established Himself, istor over the throne. Surah Tihar, Ayah 5. The word istor means rose over, ascended, elevated Himself, established Himself, but some people distorted it to mean istol, which signifies take possession of, being a fundamentally different notion. 2. Distortion of the meaning by interpreting the word to mean something different from what Allah and His Messenger, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, intended. An example of this is the interpretation by some of the word ayad hand in the Almighty's phrase, the hand of Allah, as either Allah's power or His blessing. Such interpretation is erroneous, and it conforms to neither religious rules of the Quran and the Sunnah, nor the generally accepted rules of the Arabic language. Negation tatl refers to a total denial of Allah's attributes. Such is the claim of those who state that Almighty Allah has no attributes at all. Subjecting Allah's attributes to descriptive designation, Tawheed, refers to subjecting divine attributes to human imagination in terms of how a certain quality of His could be. This is what some misguided people do when they try to give descriptive explanation of Allah's attributes and thus claim, for example, that His hand is such, or that He established Himself upon the throne in such and such manner. This is truly an undue claim, for the state of Allah's attributes is only known to Him, and it is something that is beyond the comprehension of people. Comparing tamthil implies comparing Allah's attributes to those of His creation. People with such attitude can say, for example, that He has hearing similar to ours, or that He has a face that is similar to ours. Far exalted is Allah above such a similitude. The correct approach in relation to Allah's names and attributes is based on three fundamental principles, the fulfillment of which is enough to guarantee safety of any deviation in this respect. The principles are the following. 1. None of Allah's attributes should be likened to any of His creation. Almighty Allah said, "There is nothing like Him, and He is the All-Hearer." The All-Seer Surah Ashrah, Ayah 11. This wonderful verse indicates that there is no resemblance of any kind between the Creator and what He has created, and clearly states that the Almighty possesses the hearing and the sight, which are in no way similar to the hearing and the sight of His creations. In spite of the fact that these two attributes are present in many of Allah's creations, the Quranic proof in this regard is this verse. So put not forward similitudes for Allah. Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 74, as well as the following words of the Almighty. And there is none co-equal or comparable unto Him. Surah Al-Qadar, Ayah 4. 2. Any name or attribute that Allah has ascribed for Himself, and that has been ascribed for Him by His Messenger, peace and blessings of Allah be upon Him, suits His sublimity. 3. One should have no aspiration to comprehend the actual condition of the Almighty's attributes, as it is impossible for a created being to know this. This is proved by Allah's words. He knows what happens to them in this world, and what will happen to them in the hereafter, but they will never compass anything of His knowledge. Surah Taha, Ayah 110. People with common sense ought to realize that human understanding has definite limits beyond which it is unable to pass, nor are their visual and hearing abilities unlimited. Whoever attempts to conceive the inconceivable for the human mind and, for instance, gets into thoughts about the condition of Allah's attributes, is like the one who wishes to see what is there on the other side of the wall, or the one who is hoping to hear a sound coming from afar. The Quran and the Sunnah mention a great many beautiful names and sublime attributes of Almighty Allah, and it is impossible to count them all. The names and attributes that we have cited are just some of them. Each Muslim has to believe in all the divine names and attributes in a manner that suits His sublimity and majesty. All believers have to accept all the qualities He ascribed to Himself in the Quran, because He has a better knowledge of Himself than His creations. Each Muslim also has to accept all the terms that His Messenger, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, used to describe Him in the Sunnah, as he knew the Lord better than any other human, and was the most sincere, the most eloquent, the most devoted, and the most pious among them. No one has the right to negate any of the attributes of Almighty Allah or compare them to the attributes of His creation, because there is nothing like Him, and He is the All-Hearer, the All-Seer. Surah Ashrah, Ayah 11. Oneness of divinity, Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah. The word Uluhiyyah in Arabic is derived from the word Ilah, which means deity. A deity is someone or something one submits to on the basis of love and glorification. People obey a deity and humble themselves to Him, fear Him and wish for Him. Turn to Him in times of trouble, and invoke to Him in the most important moments of life. Rely on Him hoping for the blessing and seek refuge with Him. All these feelings develop in a human heart towards a God, because a deity embodies every quality of perfection and sublimity, which are not present in a human soul, nor in any other creation. The oneness of divinity, Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah, refers to the conviction of the heart that Allah is the one true God alone, and only He alone is worthy of worship. Indeed, if Almighty Allah is the only Lord, and if the perfect names and attributes of a divine nature are exclusively His, then none but He alone is the true deity. Almighty Allah said, "And verily, we have sent among every nation a messenger proclaiming, worship Allah alone, and keep away from false deities." Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 36. Almighty Allah said, "That is because Allah, He is the truth, and what they invoke besides Him, it is falsehood. And verily, Allah, He is the Most High, the Most Great." Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 62. Almighty Allah told us in the Quran that all objects of people's worship, which they mistakenly take for deities, are nothing more than a falsehood. That is to say, people will not gain anything if they worship them by submitting to them, invoking to them, setting hopes on them, fearing them, asking them for help, or relying on them. As Almighty Allah said, "Do they attribute as partners to Allah those who created nothing, but they themselves are created? No help can they give them, nor can they help themselves." Surah Al-Araf, Ayahs 191 to 192. And those whom you call upon besides Him cannot help you, nor can they help themselves. Surah Al-Araf, Ayah 197. He merges the night into the day, and He merges the day into the night, and He has subjected the sun and the moon. Each runs its course for a term appointed. Such is Allah, your Lord. He is the kingdom, and those whom you invoke or call upon instead of Him owe not even the skin over a date stone. If you invoke them, they hear not your call, and if they were to hear, they could not grant it to you. And on the day of resurrection, they will disown your worshipping them, and none can inform you like Him who is the All-Knower. Surah Al-Qadar, Ayahs 13 to 14. The majority of people recognize Allah as the Lord, the Creator, the Sustainer, the Sovereign, and these terms refer to the oneness of lordship. Yet at the same time they ascribe as partners to Him, worship all sorts of idols, statues, departed righteous people, angels, stars and trees that can neither harm nor benefit anyone. Nor are they capable of giving something or taking something away. As Almighty Allah said, "And most of them believe not in Allah, except that they attribute partners unto Him." Surah Yusuf, Ayah 106. The pagans of the time of the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, recognized Allah as the Lord, the Creator, the Sustainer, the Sovereign, but their idolatry was manifested in worshipping someone or something along with the Lord of the worlds. They attributed equals and partners to Allah, invoking to them, asking for salvation and praying for a help. Almighty Allah pointed out in many parts of His holy scripture that the polytheistic tribes of Arabia acknowledged the sovereignty of Allah, that is to say Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, yet, at the same time, they attributed partners to Him in worship. Thus, Almighty Allah said, "And if you were to ask them, who has created the heavens and the earth and subjected the sun and the moon, they will surely reply, Allah. How then are they deviating?" Surah Al-Qadar, Ayah 61. Allah, glorified and exalted, also said, "And if you were to ask them, who sends down water from the sky, and gives life therewith to the earth after its death, they will surely reply, Allah. Say, all the praises and thanks be to Allah. Nay, most of them have no sense." Surah Al-Qadar, Ayah 63. He also said, "And if you ask them who created them, they will surely say, Allah. How then are they turned away?" Surah Az-Zukhruf, Ayah 87. He also said, "Say, whose is the earth and whosoever is therein? If you know, they will say, it is Allah's. Say, will you not then remember? Say, who is the Lord of the 7 heavens and the Lord of the great throne?" They will say, Allah. Say, will you not then fear Allah? Say, in whose hand is the sovereignty of everything, and He protects, while against whom there is no protector, if you know. They will say, all that belongs to Allah. Say, how then are you deceived and turn away from the truth? Surah Al-Mu'min, ayahs 84 to 89. The polytheists of Arabia of the time of the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, did not hold that idols sent down rain from the sky by themselves, sustained the world, or possessed governorship over all things. On the contrary, they were convinced that only the Lord, the Exalted, was capable of performing these acts, and admitted that the idols they directed their prayers to instead of Allah were creations themselves, and therefore were unable to bring benefits or do harm on their own either to themselves or to those who worship them. They knew that those idols were incapable of giving life, causing death or resurrecting, nor were they capable of hearing or seeing. They believed that such power belonged exclusively to Almighty Allah, and that no one shared this power with Him, and they thought that neither they nor their statues were capable of this. They recognized Allah the Exalted as an only Creator and all the rest creatures as His creations, and believed that He was the unique Lord, whereas the rest were His servants totally belonging to Him. Yet they attributed partners and intermediaries to Him from among His creations, asking them to intercede with Allah, and thus trying to become closer to Him. Almighty Allah commented on them in this way, and those who take other protectors and helpers besides Him say, we worship them only that they may bring us near to Allah. Surah Az-Zumar, ayah 3. In other words, they asked idols to intercede with Allah on their behalf, so that they should earn help and sustenance and get their temporal affairs in proper order. As we can see, basically polytheists recognized Allah as the unique Lord of all existence, yet, despite this fact, the Almighty did not name them Muslims. Quite the opposite. Allah, glorified and exalted, said that they were polytheists and non-believers, threatened them with eternal torments in hell, and made their lives and their possessions lawful for His messenger. Peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, for they failed to fulfill the mandatory condition of the oneness of lordship. That is to say, they worshipped other gods alongside Allah. From all of the above, it becomes clear that recognizing Allah as the one true God, without worshipping Him alone, is not sufficient to be a Muslim, and does not save one from Allah's punishment. What is more, such recognition of the Almighty's lordship without an exclusive worship of Him is a cogent argument against man himself, for the sole reason that acknowledging Allah obliges him to serve the Almighty alone in a most sincere manner, without attributing partners to Him, and makes it his responsibility to worship Allah alone. Words of the oneness of Allah. The testimony La ilaha illa Allah, the classification listed above, does not mean that there are three independent types of monotheism, not connected with each other, and that it is enough to practice any of them, paying no regard for the other two, and that there are more important or less important ones among them. A person is considered to be professing the oneness of God as long as he affirms all the three of its types. Attributing partners to Allah in one of the types is like attributing partners to Him in all of the three types of Tawheed, because they are interconnected. A good example in this regard is the one who invokes other than Allah, asking for something that Allah alone is capable of. This way this person ascribes partners to Allah in all the three types of Tawheed. He attributes partners to Him in worship. He offers prayers, which is a kind of worship, to someone other than Allah, hence questioning Allah's oneness of divinity. In terms of the oneness of Allah's lordship, this person calls upon other than Him, hoping to gain benefit or ward off harm, because he is sure that the one he invokes can hold the balance in the realm of Allah and satisfy his request. Regarding the oneness of Allah's divine names and perfect attributes, his actions imply that the one he invokes is the hearing and the close, and hears everyone who calls upon Him, and is capable of fulfilling their wishes and granting them all they ask for. The fact that Allah is the one true God alone is reflected in the words of the testimony La ilaha illa Allah. There is no deity worthy of worship except Allah. The essence of this great testimony lies in claiming that no one but Allah has the right to be worshipped by the creations, as no one but Allah possesses divine attributes, the attributes of perfection and sublimity, and only He alone is the Lord Almighty and the Creator of all existence. He alone has control over the universe. He alone possesses all qualities of perfection, being far from deficiency of any kind. Therefore, He is the only one to succumb and humble oneself to. Allah Almighty alone makes creations initially and recreates them, and He has no co-participants, and this means that He alone is worthy of worship, and no one has the right to be His partner in it.